A couple weeks ago, Netflix released a new thriller film called The Pale Blue Eye, and I liked it quite a bit. Hello, and welcome to the Eldridge Collection. My name is Aaron Peterson, the curator. Today, we're talking about The Pale Blue Eye. It was directed by Scott Cooper and was based off of the book by Louis Bayard. It stars Christian Bale and Harry Melling, who steals every scene that he's in. He plays a young Edgar Allan Poe as a cadet in West Point. Now, this story is a historical fiction and probably leans more on fiction than it does on anything historical, but Edgar Allan Poe was actually a cadet at West Point, which is something I didn't know until watching this movie and then looking it up afterwards. Also, Harry Melling is the same guy who plays Dudley in the Harry Potter series, and I was blown away when I found that out, looking him up on IMDb after watching this. I was wondering what else he was in, and I'm like, really? He was that guy in Harry Potter? That was weird. He looks good, and he's definitely got way more acting chops than I thought. So I'm excited to see what else he does in the future. But yeah, that brings me to one of the main things that I liked about this movie, and that was the acting. I loved Christian Bale in almost everything he does. I liked Harry Melling and his portrayal of Poe as an eccentric young man trying to figure out his voice and experiment with poetry while also trying to be respectable and, falling in love. It was all very interesting. Also, Simon McMurray and Timothy Spall, while they have smaller roles, were also very entertaining to watch every time they came on screen. Christian Bale plays a brooding, dark, semi-retired detective, and he just is able to pierce with every look that he has. He's convincing as a detective. You can see his thought process going the entire time that you're watching the film. I love how he interacts with Poe and the dynamic between the romantic poet and the cold, grizzled old detective. It's it's a familiar trope in a lot of detective films, but this was definitely rewarding to watch. And also, Harry as Poe, again, very eccentric, very romantic in the sense that he's a young poet trying to find his voice, trying to fit in as a cadet and failing mostly. He talks passionately, he talks loudly, and he has a great accent that I thought was a very nice touch that they put in this film. It just made him very entertaining to watch. Another thing I loved was the cinematography. Everything has this dark, pale blue color over it, which works really well because it's the middle of winter, it's cold, it's dreary. It adds a sense of mystery to everything, and also it I don't know, I like the creativity of using that pale color, that pale blue color, because it feels more like a strong, bold, artistic choice. They're like, it's pale blue eye, we're going to use pale blues as much as we can, and it just raised the level of my enjoyment for watching the actual cinematography. The way they framed things within the different sets was also very entertaining and very interesting. It just made everything feel very claustrophobic and very grounded in this sort of like old frontier area of the United States. Liked that sense of dread, but it was also just very cool to look at. The cinematography I really appreciated in this film as well. And also, you can't have a film about a young Edgar Allan Poe without it being macabre, and I really appreciated where they took that feeling of macabre throughout the whole film. There's great artwork, there's great set design, there's great characters and clothing. Christian Bale's like beat up old trench coat with the small top hat I thought looked really cool. I liked the laboratory of both the occultists in the film and the hospital, or I guess it wasn't necessarily hospital, it was more like a viewing room for anatomy students at West Point, where they would bring in a cadaver and like the teacher would go through and, explain the different parts of the body. There is a lot of occult elements. They have the occultist who's an ally, but then also they're trying to find these Satanists who have been taking hearts from dead cadets. It just makes you wonder, like, how far they're going to take it in the story, but overall they keep it pretty grounded, but still incredibly sinister and macabre. And I really appreciated that about this film. Now, there were a couple things that I didn't quite like about this movie. One of the big ones was the music. There were a couple times where it actually took me out of the film. It was very loud, bombastic, orchestral music that felt probably period accurate, but just kind of interrupted the pace of the film, in my opinion. I'm not a big music guy. I don't talk about music a whole lot on this channel because it's just one of those things that I never never sunk my teeth into. So when a music's bad, I tend to notice it. But again, your mileage may vary because, again, music's not really my thing. But in this particular film, I did find it at least jarring. Also, you should be forewarned that this movie is pretty long. And it does take its time. I wouldn't say it drags, but it does let the scenery sit, and it does let you sit in that, in the scenery, in the woods and the fields and the different classrooms and different areas. And there are long takes and there's long pauses, and I think that personally adds to the film, but I could definitely see how some people would find that not the best. And, they probably could have shaved off 20, 30 minutes, and I probably still would have really enjoyed the film. But just want you to know going into it that it is a long movie and you might feel it. Overall, I would say that The Pale Blue Eye is worthy of the collection, and you should definitely check it out. It's on Netflix, and you'll have to carve out some time to dedicate to it, but it's definitely worth it. Christian Bale was great, Harry Miller was great, the cinematography was great, the mood, the atmosphere, the macabre, all of it, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. So if you're a fan of Poe, if you're a fan of, good mystery films, I don't know, I think you'll really enjoy it. Please comment below and let me know what you thought of it, when you do get around to seeing it. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.